Okay, so let's begin sitting up, and you can sit however you want to, of course, as long as it doesn't hurt your joints. We're not going to be here for a long time. If you do like to sit up on your knees, feel free. You don't have to. But we're only going to center for a minute or two, and then we'll really get moving. So maybe roll your shoulders around, have a deep breath, let your eyes close. And find a place where you can sit and feel relatively alert, but balanced. So you're not putting much effort into it. And notice the process you're going through, whatever it is. You might have spent the majority of the day, as most of us do, strategizing and extrapolating, making agendas, memories. And in a lot of ways, going through things that our body has to, and then really finding ways to explain and justify. So let's be grateful in a sense, but for the most part, aware of the fact that our mind is doing, by doing all of this strategizing and extrapolating, it is doing what it has to do. To keep us going. It's doing what it thinks it has to do to help us thrive. But because we know a little bit better, as we notice the breath, you can do that now. We will begin to approach thought as it comes up as the goings on of the mind, the human brain doing what the human brain does. But we're not going to identify with it. Go back to your breath. So all this stuff is happening, your mind trying to interpret and analyze the world. And you're gently placing your attention back to the breath. Anytime you notice it's wander. Maybe breathing slow ujjayi breaths. It's okay if you don't practice ujjayi breath. Try breathing really easily and really slowly and see where that takes you. And then from however you're sitting, let your knees get a little bit further apart. And when you're ready to, you're going to lift your sit bones up behind you like cow pose, and then lift your sternum and lift your face and feel a sense of light engaging around your back. And then when you're ready to, on an exhale, like cat pose, you'll lean back, drop the head, and perhaps straighten your arms some. So lift your sit bones up behind you, inhale, sternum and face. And then exhale, round, arc your back. Maybe stretch your arms forward if you want to, and keep going. We'll do one or two more. Again, you can do this sitting with your ankles crossed, or you can do it on the knees and the tops of the feet, whatever you want, whatever feels good for you. So we're going to be working on the psoas a bit today. We'll do a little bit of stuff that feels like strengthening, because it is really important to strengthen that area, in particular if it feels a little bit tight. But we're going to get pretty gooey with it too. We're going to feel stretches that seem to target the quads, and some deeper ones closer to the pelvis and the lower spine. So when you're ready to, come on up to your knees as if you were about to go into camel pose, and you can put as much space as you want to between the knees. Because of the differences in our hips, you might have your feet a little bit closer to each other and your knees farther apart, or you might have your legs really parallel to each other. It depends again on what you kind of like the best. And I'd stick with that to keep it simple. Just do what you like the best. And then just as we were doing before, you're going to stick your butt out behind you a little bit, lift your sternum, lift your face like cow pose. And then when you exhale, you're going to tuck your tailbone under, around your back, and drop your head a little bit. So inhale, stick your butt out behind you. You might even move your hips towards your feet some, lift your chest. You can do what you like with your arms, but resting them on the legs is good. And then exhale, tuck the tailbone, lifting your hips away from the floor, drop your head. Inhale, stick your butt out behind you, lift your sternum again. Everyone with the arms, you might lift them up. You might leave them on your legs and exhale, tuck under. Keep going. Pay particular attention to how your legs feel and hold one of the asanas for longer if you feel really curious about it. So the main action of the psoas is a flexion in the spine. Basically, anytime you bring your quads and your spine closer to each other, your femurs and your spine closer to each other in the front of the body, so what we're going to do now is fold into a child's pose, a really cozy one. And if you don't like child's pose, do something that feels comfortable, even some cat-cows on the hands and knees. And maybe rock around a little bit. Rock side to side, rock back and forth. And let's come up. So when you've got your thighs and your low spine really close to each other, this, especially in child's pose, this is a passive flexion of the hips because you're not using a whole lot of muscle. Go ahead and make your way up to hands and knees. So when you're ready, this is going to look silly, so let's close the eyes. Let's forget about what it looks like because it's going to feel really good. Go ahead and take a breath in and then feel. Don't worry about where you're moving your spine or anything, but just feel your butt. I know it's weird, but feel as though your butt, your pelvis, you were starting to move in circles. So not forward and back, just tracing a big circle with your butt. Now, sometimes it can be really interesting here to pull the belly in and just see how it feels. So we're making these big circles with the butt. You're not really moving your shoulders too much. You can. But I really want you to pay attention to what feels very good and to hold it for longer. Eventually, we're going to make these circles in the other direction. So you can imagine you had a paintbrush on each of your sit bones and you were trying to paint these circles with them. And then we'll start making these circles in the other direction so that you have more time to feel what you're feeling. I'm going to distract you a little bit less. I'll tell you when we're done this, but again, you're just tracing these circles with your butt like there's a paintbrush on each of your sit bones. Maybe playing with engaging differently in your belly to see how it feels. Lots of breath. Keep going. And when you're ready to, pause. Just lengthen your arms and your back. Point your nose to the floor. You might bring your knees a little bit closer to each other. But when you're ready, you're going to reach your right leg back. Bend the knee a little bit. You can turn your hip out to the side if you want to, but lift the knee pretty high. Now feel like you could lift your sit bone. You might come up onto your fingertips. That might feel a little bit better in your lower back, but lift your foot, your sternum, and your face like cow pose. And then you're going to feel, and you're only lifting your sit bones as much as good in your back. You're going to feel just a slight pulsing up of your right foot. Just lift it a bunch of times. Up, 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 up. And then when you're ready, breathe in, straighten that leg. Breathe out, take that right knee in towards your nose, place the foot to the floor, bring the right hand to the right leg. You can put a lot of space between your front foot and your back knee, pat up under the back knee if you want to, and connect to your breath. So when you're ready, inhale, bend your right knee, let your left thigh drop towards the floor, lift your chest, and exhale, just sink. Inhale here, lift your chest, and exhale, just sink. So we're mostly stretching, so to speak, parts of the quadriceps of the left leg. You might feel a little around the groin, your right ankle, that's okay. Now let's see if we can take it a little bit deeper into the psoas of that left leg. So we're going to sit up a little bit. You're going to bring your right foot a little further back in space. So you've got both your right shin and your left thigh perpendicular to the floor. So there can't be a lot of space in between the feet, no matter really what your proportions are. And you're going to place your hands to your pelvis and feel a sense of tucking of the tailbone here. Now feel as though you could take your left hip point and move it back in space. Take a breath in, sit really tall, left hip point moving up and back in space, and then exhale, look to the left like somebody over your left shoulder called your name and you're trying to see who it was. Reach your left arm out to the left in a way that feels really easy and sweet on your left arm, on your shoulder blade. Find your breath. Claw onto the floor with your feet, lift your left hip point, and then move that left hip point back in space. Breathe, breathe, breathe. When you're ready, bring your right hand, the front or the back of it, to your right thigh. Lift your left arm up alongside your ear. Inhale, and then exhale. Do a little side bend. So right side of the body, right over the right leg. Lift your left hip point. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Go ahead and lift up. Slowly face forward. Blink. Focus your eyes. Lift that left arm again if you took it down. Tuck your tailbone again if you released it. Take a breath in. Lift your left hip point and then move it back and exhale. Side bend over to the right. We're going to take a few breaths here. Give the body some time to send the signal to release the muscles instead of engaging. Imagine you were trying to move the left part of your spine, low spine, left low spine, away from the left of the pelvis. And then go ahead and place your hands to the floor. Make your way back to hands and knees. And you might want a moment. If you felt a lot, it might feel good just to not do anything. It might feel good to do downward dog, your choice. And when you're ready, take your left leg back in space, bend the knee. And when you're ready, you can keep your lower back lifting towards the ceiling if you want to. But if it feels okay, let your sit bone lift up a little bit. Maybe find a hint of cow pose elsewhere in the spine by lifting your sternum and your nose. And then you're simply going to take that left foot and pulse it up, 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 up. Like you're again moving the left side of the pelvis and the left side of the spine away from each other. Pulse, 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 lift, lift, lift. Breathe in, straighten the leg, bring your back to neutral. Breathe out, take the knee towards the nose, the foot to the floor. And so we can target the quads a little bit, which often work in conjunction with the psoas. We're going to put lots of space, as much as you want, between your back knee and your front foot. You might put your left hand to your leg or leave it to the floor. Come onto your right fingertips, back toes tucked or not, whatever you want. And let's take a breath in. Maybe lift your chest up, like you are drawing the right side of your rib cage away from the right side of your pelvis. When you breathe out, just let your right hip sink down. So much breath. And quite a bit of ease here. Let's not overdo it. And when you're ready, you're going to back off a little bit. And however you want to, you're going to walk your left foot in. So you still want to have your left foot to the left of your back foot. Well, at least a little bit. Doesn't have to be too much. And then you want to have your left leg, left lower leg, and right upper leg perpendicular to the floor. So right hip over heel, over knee, left knee over heel. You can place your hands to your pelvis if you want to, but feel as though you could take the right side of your pelvis, tuck it under. Lift it up a little bit. And then feel like you could take the right side of your pelvis, almost move it back in space. Take a breath in, stand really tall. Good. And then feel as though you were trying to shift ever so slightly to the right, like somebody over your right shoulder called your name, you're trying to see who it was. Start to turn your face and find just a hint of a twist there. You're going to anchor your left hand to your left leg, press them into each other in whatever way feels good. Lift your right hip point, reach your right arm out, lift the right hip point up and back, breathe. Lift that right hip point so high. And then go ahead and lift the right arm alongside the ear and do just a little bit of a side bend. It's like you're trying to lift the right side of the lower back away from the right side of the pelvis. Sit up, face forward. Take your time, find your balance. You're going to re-lift that right arm if you took it down. Re-lift that right hip point if you relaxed it some. Push the floor away. And then as you take your right hip point up and back in space, side bend to the left. Lots of breath here. We'll be here for a little while. Lift the right hip point up, up, up. When you're ready, sit up. Bring your hands down. Step back, down dog, child's pose, or vinyasa, whatever you want. But let's meet in downward dog. And travel up to the front of the mat. Take a breath in, lift the back up, some look up. Breathe out, fold. Breathe in, come on up to stand. Breathe out, release your hands down. You can place the hands to the hips. You can hold onto a wall if you want to. You're gonna lean into, let's lean into the left foot first and lift the right knee up. So feel as though you could lift your right knee pretty high, but then you're gonna breathe in, and when you breathe out, take your belly in. You know how I feel about taking the belly in? There are so many times, and I don't want you to do that. Just for now, take your belly in, and then lean your torso over your right leg. See how it feels. Lift that right knee. Get your torso as close as you can to the right knee. Squeeze your lower belly in, squeeze your knee up, up, up. And then go ahead and keep your knee up, but sit up again. And let's just pulse the knee up a couple times. I think 5 times. Up, 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 up. Take that right knee and settle it right next to your left knee. Lift the right hip point. Take the right knee and start inching it back in space. Lift the right hip point. Inch the knee back, 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 back. Now take your right foot and just shift it over to the left. Right, so it comes kind of behind your left knee. And then feel your right knee move back, your sternum lift up, lift your arms and breathe. Take that right knee back, back, back. Lift, lift, lift your chest. Point the knee forward, release the foot, release your hands to your hips. Lift your left knee up, find your balance. Take a breath in, lift your knee as high as you can. Doesn't have to be perfectly squared off. And then take your belly in and move your torso towards your leg towards your torso, and squeeze here. This is not a stretch for the psoas, obviously. But draw your knee up, up, up. Belly in. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And then keep your knee about as high as it is. And sit up a little taller. Notice your breath. And let's pulse the knee up a few times. 5, 4, 3, 2. Sit really, really tall. And then take that left knee and line it up with your right knee. Now, chances are pretty good. If you think it's lined up with the right knee, it might not be. You don't have to look, but sometimes it's interesting. And then you're going to lift your hip points and nudge that left knee back in space. Lift the left hip point so high. Nudge the knee back, 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 back. You might even take your arms up. Now take that left foot, just move it over to the right. So you're really tall, and then take that left knee back a little bit more. Point the knee forward, release the foot, and we're going to come to sit. However you want to get there. You're going to place the fingertips to the floor behind you, and you're going to lift your feet up in the air. Take a breath in, hands wherever you want behind you. Exhale, open your knees, feet close. Take a breath in. Exhale, bring your knees close. Separate your feet as much as you can. Separate your feet as much as you can. Feet close, knees apart. Knees close, feet apart. One more time. Feet close, knees apart. Breathe. Knees close, feet apart. Now keep your knees close and your feet apart and draw your heels closer to your sit bones and further away. 2 more times. Closer and further away. Closer, further away. Lie down on your back. When you're ready, clamp onto the floor with your feet. Lift your hips, bridge pose. Now, let's from here come onto the heels. Really lift the hip points. And then open the knees out and turn them in. And out and in. And out and in. Let's keep the feet relatively parallel. Lift, lift, lift your hips. And come on down. Let your knees drop to the right, but then grab onto, if you can, your left foot with your left hand. After you grab your left foot with your left hand, you're going to take that left foot over to the left and let your left knee drop down towards the floor. See if you can get your lower back, for the most part, facing the floor. But really anchor down with your left knee and breathe. 3 breaths. You can let go of your foot with your hand, by the way, anytime you want. And back to center. We'll take the knees to the left. But then see if you can grab your right foot with your right hand and point your right knee kind of towards the small side of the mat, like the front of the mat. You'll anchor your right knee down. Feel a sense of subtly lifting the right hip point towards the belly button. Relax your belly though. And let's go into Shavasana. If you want to hug your knees in, feel free. Might feel particularly good to stretch your legs long. Let your eyes close. And keep this gentle reminder anytime you'd like to repeat it. That your thoughts are only thoughts. I know that seems kind of duh. And it's one of those things that we hear and kind of realize for years. But when you start to experience that fact, it's a little bit easier. You get better and better at not going on every trip they entice you with. Instead, acknowledge in a very friendly way, because your thoughts are very much on your side sometimes too, that this is a human brain doing what a human brain is meant to do. But you are getting better and better at being pickier and pickier about what you value. All those thoughts are only thoughts. And you have like a guardrail, your breath, anytime you need it, anytime you want it. Nice and easy, easy, easy breathing. You can stay here for longer if you'd like to. You can keep kind of tucked in your pocket this approach to thought. Just because something came up in your head doesn't mean you have to do a single thing. Doesn't mean there's a problem. So you might take some deeper breaths now if it feels good. Stretch, roll onto your side if you want to come up. Up to sit when you're ready and have this moment to yourself. And if you'd like to fold forward with the hands in front of, Behind you, whatever you please. Take a breath in. And exhale, relax, fold forward. And thank you very, very much.